There we go. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. It's Dr. Lakeisha McGee, the founder of the Heal Her 2 Foundation, coming to you guys again today um, with our Survivor Sunday. As we continue to talk about breast cancer, we will continue to have survivors, thrivers, warriors come on and tell their stories, give their testimonies, because we all know that our trials, our tribulations are not for us, they are for others. They are to help others on their journey. So, Heal Her 2 Foundation is a foundation that supports, we provide wraparound services for survivors, as well as thrivers, as well as family members, as well as warriors. We provide those services to help you along your journey. So, today I have with me two warriors who are still in the fight. We have Shanette Caywood, who is a Chicago native. Her journey with breast cancer began 11 years ago with stage 4 cancer diagnosis. Stage 4. Instead of allowing her diagnosis to take control, Shanette took the reins and began to control the narrative of her own journey and ways of advocacy work and mentoring others also going through a diagnosis. Shanette has learned through her journey with cancer, this story isn't about her, it's about inspiring others. Shanette, thank you for being here today. Thank you, thank you. Shanette is modest. She forgot to put in her bio that she is also a co-author to our book, 12 Shades of Breast Cancer. Her story is in there. It is in there. So, Shanette, thank you for being here today. How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate, being able to be on the platform and just tell people about my journey and how it's been dealing with the stage 4 diagnosis. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something I'm putting it on your pages, guys. I'm tagging you in it. I'm sorry. To be diagnosed with stage 4 right out the gate, tell me about that.
It was scary. It was very scary because I was young. I was in my early 30s. So did not know much about breast cancer at all or cancer just in general, thinking because I was young and thinking because I didn't have a family history of it that I would not be affected by it. And who
Mhm.
knows, went into my physician thinking it was a cyst. I was having a cyst drain and leaving, being told I had a suspicious mass on my breast. So that in itself is just like my life was turned upside down within a couple of hours. So it was
Wow.
completely different. And it was, a think fast situation for me because you hear cancer and you don't really know about it, but to hear stage 4 and then to learn everything that comes with stage 4 is just completely devastating. And then to hear the prognosis that you're given with the stage 4 diagnosis is even more devastating because you're thinking, wow, I have this cancer that's metastasized to my liver, to my spine, and they're telling me my survival rate is 3 to 5 years, and you're completely devastated, especially when you're being so early in age. You're thinking, wow, I have 2 kids. Will I survive to see them live through certain milestones? So, like I said,
Mhm.
back then, I actually would have thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me. But looking forward now, 11 years later, all the possibilities and all the opportunities that I've had as the outcome from it has been great. I wouldn't change the experience. And when people hear me say that, they may think, wow, you wouldn't change the journey. I wouldn't because it helped me to develop into who I was supposed to be and who I am today and the things I've set forth to accomplish and the things I continue to work on as me being a person, me growing, me developing, and me educating others about my journey and about what a breast cancer diagnosis can't do. It can't take away those things. In my opinion, it only takes away those things if you allow it to. You're still able to control the narrative of the situation, and that's something I had to work through, and that's something I've learned throughout my personal journey.
Yeah. Nailah Ali, who was also diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in December of 2021. She's known as a phenomenally stunning plus size model, coach, girls cheerleading, correct?
Hmm.
Coaching girls cheerleading on her work as a dedicated community leader with Imagine That Events. Nailah focuses on the fight of her life, the outpour of her sheer love and support that has flowered her as a fighter is only a reflection of all the love and support she has given out. Tough but fair, she speaks her mind, but always with love. She greets the world with an easy, amazing smile and is always ready to help whenever and wherever she can. To her family and friends, she is a loyal and consistent source of love, light, and support. In her day to day, she is a go getter who rarely asks but gives happily and freely of herself and her time. She volunteers many hours helping supporting various causes and groups. One of her biggest volunteer roles is the exchange ceremony, an event symbolic of unity and healing for the global African diaspora. Right now, Nailah will fight to survive and beat stage 4 breast cancer so she can continue to impact the lives of many. Nailah, tell us about your journey with being diagnosed with breast cancer and metastatic.
Um, First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to share my story. I was a
Thank you for
little,
being here.
I'm pretty transparent and open about my story, but of course, I still be nervous.
Don't be. It's yours. Tell it.
Stage 4, when I heard that, it was just not my expectation. I felt like once I was aware that I had a tumor and to get it checked out, I was somewhat prepared. I had volunteered when I was younger for things like breast cancer and American Heart Association, things like that. So I had some knowledge, but of course, I think we can all agree you don't really know until you're in a situation what this is and what it looked like. Um, so initially I was devastated to hear, well, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, stage 0, maybe 1, gonna take this on, maybe remove a breast and, cool. But then I just couldn't handle it. It took a lot of working through and revamping and still recreating myself to this day, what that means for me.
Sorry, I was talking and had muted. Didn't even realize I had muted myself. Um, you said revamping and just trying to figure out things as you go along. How has that been?
It's been a roller coaster, up, down, around, through, sideways, just a lot. And the challenge was not only the diagnosis of stage 4, but I had just been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, PTSD. So once I got that, it just sunk in me into a deeper dark space. Um, so having positivity around with my healthcare, my support system, um, strangers that don't even know me, sending care packages, um, like yourself and the Heal Her Too Foundation, receiving that package as well was just a community or just a positive energy around that kind of help you pull out from those things. Like Miss Shanette said, it's it's really you doing something positive, fighting through it without letting it just take it over, to show that you can do a lot more than just let it.
When when you were first diagnosed, where were you? Who were you with at that time?
Um, when I was first going through the process and not actually hearing the diagnosis, like because I had two
When you
different.
were Okay, well, tell me both, but when you first were diagnosed, where were you at? Who was the first person that you told when you were diagnosed?
Um, my family is my main support, so they knew. They was kind of like right there getting the playbook. I did have a manager at the time that came in person with me, because a lot of the times I was going to the appointments myself and I wasn't, I wasn't thinking nothing of it. And they actually didn't tell me my diagnosis. They already assumed that somebody told me, and they were going over the treatment plans and telling me how they didn't think that they can do anything because of the cancer was so aggressive, that it was just not a really pleasant diagnosis. Like, it was no type of sit down, compassion, this is what's going on. Like, it was just like I was ambushed with my diagnosis on how they did it.
So you said they thought you knew already? Explain that to me.
So after the biopsy and the testings and all the things that they do,
Mm-hmm.
um, they had my results, but no one ever told me, hey, you're stage 4 metastatic, and what was the cause of it? Like, I'm HER2 positive. They didn't sit down and tell me those things. It was just like, all right, they was just ready to attack this thing head on and be as aggressive as the cancer, but it was like they were
They
steps
missed the
ahead of
step.
me, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, I'm confused. Like,
Wow.
what are we talking about? What? So I'm very grateful for um my manager at the time, whatever put on her heart, like, I'm going with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think it would have went completely different with hearing and not expecting, and how they dropped the ball on that. It would have went completely
Yeah.
different. So it is important to have emotional support with you.
Yeah. We talk about the healthcare professionals, and we talk about I had to change doctors because I felt that there was an insensitivity to my diagnosis or my treatment or my care. So to be in that situation, I don't know how I would have responded. I probably would have been devastated to just hear them start talking about treatment without me even knowing what had been the diagnosis. So I'm definitely glad that you had support with you. Shanette, I kind of know your story a little bit, but tell us about when you were told about your diagnoses. Were you told that it was metastatic right away once you were diagnosed?
Well, once I was diagnosed, initially I was told it was a suspicious mass. They knew it was cancerous, but of course they need to run all the tests and biopsies
Mhm.
to confirm. So once everything was confirmed, and we did scans and everything, and it did come back. They did tell me it was stage 4 from the beginning. So the course of action was geared towards treating a stage 4 diagnosis from the beginning.
And you were 30, how old?
I was 33.
And how old were you, Nailah?
33.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow. Oh, so, it amazes me how we have two beautiful women here, both 33 years old, diagnosed with stage 4, and they don't want you to start getting mammograms until you're 40.
Mm-hmm.
And the ironic part about that is I had went in a few years prior to being diagnosed because I knew there was something in my breast because they felt awkward, and I went in and they did an ultrasound, and I was told it was a cyst. And I was told to follow up in the next like year or so because I was too young for a mammogram for them to go in and to see what else was going on. And me being younger and naive at the time and not knowing anything about breast cancer, I didn't push for any other treatment. I just took it as what I was told and just kept going. And then fast forward, when I went back a year or two later, here I am being told, the mass had grown and it was cancer and it was stage 4. And although I'm not a physician, but in my mind, I'm thinking, could it have been cancerous all along? And it was just so small that they couldn't detect it. If they would have done more tests, could have been detected, then if I was
Earlier.
more
Hmm.
asked, but I'm not a physician and I didn't know anything about cancer. So of course, I just took it for what it was and just didn't bother it again until it became a factor and I had to go back and get it checked out again. But again, like you say, it was because I wasn't of age to receive a mammogram.
Hmm. But that goes back to early detection. We know that early detection is key. We know that the earlier we find out, the more options we have. So, it just seems that when we are telling healthcare professionals that, hey, there is something, you need to check it out, somewhere along the way, they have got to be more responsive. As you said, they got to be more proactive than um, you know, waiting. And now it's metastatic. Can you
Mhm.
all explain what metastatic means for those who may not understand what metastatic means?
Metastatic is when the cancer have moved beyond the primary area in which it was first developed. My primary area was my breast. So the cancer has spread it from the outside of my breast to my liver and to my spine and to my lymph nodes. So it's basically a cancer that's traveled beyond the primary area of diagnosis.
What kind were you diagnosed with? HER2?
I was also stage 4 HER2 positive, which is we're told HER2 is a very aggressive type of cancer because of the protein that it feeds off of. So it's not a hormone receptive type of cancer. It's more of like a protein type of cancer or something. It's a weird science behind it. But the flip side of it, from what I was told, is because it was so aggressive, they had more treatments available for that type of cancer.
Mm. So I was diagnosed with HER2 as well. I still take a hormone blocker type of medication, which is still in the chemo family, but it's a pill. I still take that. I have another year because I'm coming up on 4 years now. And it's to block that hormone to keep it from spreading. So, or returning, quote unquote. Nailah, where had yours spread to?
So mine started in the right breast, and it spread it on the right side of my chest, my sternum, and my lungs, and the bones and the lymph nodes. All on the right side, but now I just recently found out that it is some cancer in my left arm, in the bone in my left on my left side.
So it's I, it, I'm just trying to get my words because when I hear that, it just, it to be a survivor, you know what that's like. You know what you go through, and it's to the core that I still can't believe that we got a man on the moon. But we still don't have a cure for cancer, and it just is mind-boggling. So tell me about your current treatment plan because I know you both still take treatment, and explain that this is something that is ongoing. Um, what is your treatment plan currently?
So for me, I go do my infusions every 3 weeks, and then every 3 months I do my scans to monitor the cancer. So far the tumors are still staying small and they have not spread. I also chose to remove my ovaries because that's what the cancer was feeding off of.
Is that the
Instead,
Oompa rep for me? Is that what that is? Oompa rep. Say that word for me. Oompa rep. Can you say it? Shanette, I
don't,
can never
don't
say
give
it.
me the
I can't
Oompa
say
rep.
it, but I
I
know
would
what
just say it's similar to,
I know what you're trying to say, but I can't
Yeah,
pronounce it. But yeah, I
I
get
can
it.
right.
never
I'm
say
like,
it. I'm gonna
don't
get
give
it.
me to try
It
to say
takes
some of
free
these.
to say the word because she had one too. So she says Oompa rep. Oop.
But they just
I'm gonna get
remove
it
your
right.
ovaries.
So,
Yes, yes,
right,
yes.
removal of ovaries,
It's in
and
the book
it's
though. We
not
do
a,
have it in the book.
right. I'm like, it's not a hysterectomy. So get the book if you want to know more, because
Yeah, yeah. I think
uh,
it's Oompa rep for me. I'm gonna get the word. I'm gonna get it because I can never pronounce it. But so you opted to remove your ovaries.
yeah, because I was doing
Okay.
a shot to stop my cycle to keep my body from producing the female hormones.
Right. The estrogen. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. So every 3 weeks and every 3 months you get your scan. And Shanette, what is your treatment plan currently?
Well, actually, I am no longer in treatment. Um,
Oh,
I've been
Hey,
yes, I've been off chemo since 2019.
okay.
The way that came about is it was the discussion with my oncologist, but it was a decision that I initiated
Mm-hmm.
because my scans they were coming back stable, and I had the discussion with her, if we continue the scans, if we do a trial and I stop taking the chemo and the scans continue to come back stable, do I really need to go back on the chemo? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we did it, and the scans continued to come back stable, and from there
Mm-hmm.
we kind of like discontinued the treatment. Although I have still remained on tamoxifen, which you have to be on that for the course of 5 years. So when the 5 years ended on that, I just came off tamoxifen a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I
right.
am currently on Zomata because I did have it had metastasized to my bone. So that's just as the bone strengthener. So
Mm-hmm.
currently I'm only seen every 6 months. I get scans every 6 months and I get the Zomata every 6 months. So outside of that,
Mm.
I'm not on any other meds. That's pretty much it. That's
Right.
my regimen for the past 2 years now.
Wow. Your story is phenomenal. That your story is phenomenal. To hear that it's it's stable. It's not moving. It's not going away, but it's not spreading. And you don't have to take the chemo drugs right now. That is amazing.
It,
Like,
it is. It is. And you know what I say about controlling the narrative. Sometimes we're afraid to have those conversations. And I was afraid about taking a chance of not continuing with the chemo, but it was a decision that I had to make. And I felt as though,
why did you make that decision? You said because your test was stable,
yeah,
but
everything kept coming back stable. And I'm like, you know what, Shanette, if you don't really try, how do you really know what's going to happen? I just didn't want to be dependent upon having to be on these meds for the rest of my life, thinking like that was what was keeping me going. So, it's a gamble, it's taking a chance, but then it was about controlling the narrative of my story. And that was the part of me taking control of it and just seeing what was going to happen. And we went in and we watched things closely, and I would have scans every 3 months. So what we did is when we stopped the meds, we kind of picked up on the scans a little bit. And it took me
Mhm.
a while. My physician was like, okay, Shanette, you continue to be stable. So how about we do every 6 months? I'm like, nah, how about we do every 4 months? So, it was a little back and forth between that. But then I finally got
Mhm.
to a place where I was comfortable with doing the scans every 6 months now. So right now I'm every 6 months.
So you made that decision and your doctor just supported the decision. But what was your doctor's recommendation?
Just to monitor the scan. She agreed with me. She of course had my records, was able to review everything, and if that's what I
Mhm.
wanted to do, she agreed with me on the decision to do so. And my doctor,
Okay.
like I tell people, I feel like we have discussions. It's not just
Mhm.
her dictating, I think you should do this. That may have
Mhm.
been the case when she told me something that I needed to do, and I had to sit down and I had to sit with it and understand the reason why she was doing it. And she is
Mhm.
the physician, so I had to take it to heart and listen to her. So I know if she felt it was something that she wasn't comfortable with, or that she didn't think I would have the outcome that I would have had, she would have
Mhm.
definitely not allowed me to go that route.
Mhm. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's also advocating for yourself.
Hmm.
Like a
Yeah,
lot of people just let the doctors rule over their health, not understanding, your body better than any of these doctors. And
absolutely.
and like you said, you have to be comfortable with your healthcare providers, or you have to move around. I would think that that's a healthy, good relationship that she can talk to her doctors and say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking," and then she's also being healthy on her end by listening, and like she said, understanding.
Mhm.
And
I remember,
I'm sorry,
go
Lakeisha.
ahead.
I can't say if I have any issues, if I feel anything that's going on. Most recently, I felt like I was having really bad headaches, but I lost my grandmother some time ago, so that was probably a contributing factor to the headaches. But when I
Mhm.
called her, she had me in immediately to get an MRI. if I feel like something is triggering or something is going on, she's make sure I'm in there like as soon as possible to get everything checked out to make sure that I am okay. So
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I love that you're advocating for yourself. That's an amazing testimony. And I feel like it is definitely something that each individual has to come to grips with to decide if that's what they would want to do or not. Because there has to be other things that you're doing as well that's keeping your see it, and that would be the thing. Some person may say, oh, Shanette did it, so I could just stop taking my chemo too, and it might not be the same outcome because your eating is probably a certain way, your exercise is a certain way, your stress level is a certain way. All of these things play a part when you are fighting cancer, breast cancer, any form of cancer. So tell us a little bit about how you keep that balance. And I wanted to say, I remember when we were writing the book, and I remember Shanette talking about taking control over her journey, and she was saying that at that point, I think you had stopped or you were going to, because you were saying how you didn't want to be sick all the time, or you didn't want to, you were saying how I just don't want to live my life that way, always sick every time, this, that, and the other. And so I applaud you for taking control of it, but please do share some of the other things that you do to keep this balance, or to try to keep this balance with your skin staying clean. Because we don't want someone to think that, oh yeah, you just go stop your treatments, and you definitely have to do what's comfortable and best for you. But it's been 11 years, and you've put some time into it, and you did what, about, you said 2019, so you did about what, 7 or 8 years of treatment before making that decision.
yeah,
So
I did. It was a complete lifestyle change from the beginning. Just hearing the word cancer, it just changes everything. You learn how to be more consciously aware, and you learn how to be more self-aware. I had to learn what's good for me and what was not good for me, including, social circles, people I had in my life, from the things I was putting into my body to going out, just taking control. I never really worked out before I got diagnosed. And because I like to control things, I got up and I started working out. I had to do something, whereas I felt as though I was in control of the situation. I changed my eating habits, started juicing more, started doing smoothies more, started eating clean, started working out, start to remove anything that stressed me out, just being more consciously aware of everything and anything that would affect my mental health as well as my physical health. So, I wouldn't recommend anyone to go out and just say, "Hey, I don't want to do chemo anymore." It's just a balance.
mhm,
You have to find that balance and know what it is for yourself. I increased my faith life, my purpose life. I knew what I wanted, and I felt as though I had direction and I had guidance, and I felt as though in my heart and my soul and my spirit that I would be okay, and doing the right things that I needed to do and continuing
mhm,
to do those things, continuing to point to myself as well as being a vessel to point to others. There was also something that played a part in me just deciding like, okay, this is what you want to do. This is how you want to show how you take control of the narrative and how you live and how you wanted to live, how you want to live. So it was what was needed, and that's what I decided to do for myself.
right. It was your purpose journey. So we give the disclaimer, we're not telling anybody to stop their treatments.
Not
We're
at
telling
all.
them to do what's best for them and make sure that they are comfortable with having conversations with their healthcare provider, which it sounds like you and your oncologist have a great relationship. I was going to ask you, Nailah, how did that affect your relationship with your healthcare provider once they just jumped right into giving treatment plans without you even properly being diagnosed? I had to change a provider, as I said, because I felt like he didn't care about my concerns or my journey, my breast cancer journey. So how did that affect your relationship with your provider?
Um, it just made it stronger, and we got on the same page. Like I was just
Okay.
like, after I was able to come back to myself, because I went somewhere else when I started hearing the diagnosis, and them telling me that it didn't really seem very hopeful in the beginning the way it was told to me. So after I came back from those emotions, I was like, okay, um, the problem is you all didn't give me my diagnosis the way you should have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed. This is what we're gonna have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure we communicate so this is not gonna happen again. Because if you're talking about stage 4, we're gonna be on the same team for a long time.
Right.
So it was just one of those, all right, y'all messed up, take accountability, and then let's move forward. If we can move forward, then cool. But if we wasn't going to be able to, then yeah, I would have had to look somewhere else. But that's taking control of your health environment. That's still advocating for yourself, because people don't get to just do whatever and not take accountability, especially something as serious as this. You want to be comfortable with somebody that's treating you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I wanted to ask you, because when we first met, you were in that beginning stage of just getting diagnosed, just, you know, your emotional, your mental was, you've done a whole 360. Because back then you were like, this is not it. I am not, you were definitely on a whole nother spectrum. What helped you to say, okay, I'm taking control of this, I'm controlling the narrative, and I'm going to live through this thing? What was it that made you come to that decision and to do it?
I'm gonna be honest, I still struggle with that sometimes, with because I still have my moments where, like, today is a good day, but
Mm-hmm.
then a couple of days later I'm in a depressive state. I don't want to move, I don't want to do this. Like, I so sometimes it's borrowed strength. My community, they might see me and say, girl, straighten your hair up, or listen to this. Like, it's borrowed strength, because sometimes I don't have it in me.
I love that. Borrowed strength from the community. I love that. I feel like we all have to have borrowed strength. This is borrowed strength right here.
I
Being
agree.
able to
Yeah.
share and talk about and hope that some woman takes control of her health and go and get, because even in this day we know that African American women are diagnosed less than their counterparts, but we know that they die, their mortality rate is 40% higher. And this is borrowed strength of us trying to say, girl, go get your mammogram. Girl, go talk to your professional, your healthcare professional. Take control of your health. This is that borrowed strength. So I love that. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, because
Um,
Shanette's story, I'm just like, okay.
right. And see, this is why it was important for me to put you two on the same one together. That's why when I called you, I was like, I need you to be on with Shanette, because I wanted you to get that borrowed strength from Shanette and say, you know what, she doing it, she made it. Listen, Shanette, I told you she'd have been to Africa building houses. I'm like,
And I'm
girl,
trying to
like,
do the same thing. So
it's
I was like,
crazy.
really?
Yes, it's crazy. And if you see Shanette, she's this little petite, I mean, just always together, but she's working out. She's a pillar of strength. So that's why I wanted you two to be on the same one, like to tell your stories, but to do that community strength from each other, because um you need someone who's been where you're going so that you can go where they've been to get to your next level. And that's what this is all about, us helping each other, and sharing our stories and keeping it moving so that we can, help some other woman that may see this, or, just a parent or friend, somebody say, hey, I think you need to hear this. And this is what's happening. Go get your mammogram, because there are so many women that are still not getting it in this 2024 year. And I don't know what else to do besides share our stories and let people know you got to go, because women are being diagnosed on their very first time of getting their mammograms. They're being diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
if I
go
can
ahead.
add, it's just, you can see how we have so many similarities in our story, but different diagnoses with it in different times of our life right now. So I think that's the other thing that a lot of people don't see either. I think they just think like, okay, once you diagnose, you got a few rounds and then you're in remission, you know, and it's not a one size fit all, you know.
It's not. It's not. It's we have metastatic. We have women who have reoccurrences who I don't they're I've still tried to figure out if you have a reoccurrence, are you metastatic? But I don't think
Not
so.
necessarily.
Not
I don't
necessarily.
think so. Yeah, I don't think so because we have women who've had reoccurrences. We have women who have a family history. There's the BRCA gene in their whole entire family, siblings, sisters, daughters. So it's just women being diagnosed the very first time. Was there anyone in your family that had been diagnosed with breast cancer, Nailah?
So I have my grandma who I know had a diagnosis. I didn't have an experience with her while she was doing it. It just seemed like, she fought it and then came out strong. They did do the test and it wasn't hereditary.
Okay,
So
you
I
didn't
found
have the
that
gene.
interesting.
Hmm. Okay.
But
And,
yeah.
and Shanette, what about you? Was there anyone in your family? I think you said no.
Yeah, yeah, no, and then, same here. What I've learned is, a vast majority of breast cancer is environmental, it's not hereditary. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't know either is, it can be from a lot of things that we're putting into our body, or it can be just our body itself is just fighting against each other for whatever reason. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly,
Different reasons.
mhm.
Yeah. So I had a cousin who was diagnosed about a year and a half before me. Um, she had her too as well. And she was the first one in the family that I had known that had breast cancer. However, my family had, and I speak about this all the time, had several different kinds of cancers had been diagnosed. So cancer was running rapid in my family. And I'm saying when she was fighting breast cancer, my uncle and my grandfather was still fighting cancer. Then I came along and had my uncle and my grandfather. My uncle actually passed, and it was like we had lost a cousin, an aunt. It was so yeah. So it wasn't breast cancer per se, but it was cancer in our family. So that's something that I guess I take into account as well, that it wasn't breast cancer, but it seems like our family, some type of gene, some type of way was affected by cancer. So, but
So
that's interesting. Go
if I
ahead.
could add to that, like just in general about your health, right? You said for some reason some type of cancer was affected. I think it's important to pay attention to your body because for some reason, throughout my journey, when I share my story, I hear that, a lot of people say, "Oh, I didn't think nothing of it," or because I didn't have any knowledge about certain things that I didn't I didn't think to go to the doctor. You know your body. And especially if you are a woman, you have something called intuition. I don't know where we get off on just not taking care of ourselves and paying attention and listening to our bodies and waiting to the last minute. It's like, as soon as you know something is not right, don't feel right, I get it. You feel like if you're not, if you don't go to work, there's going to be an issue. But then what happens when you're not there or you're
Healthy.
down for
Hmm.
longer because you made the decision to just sit and wait?
Well, another part of that to me, I feel like, is that over the years, over the generations, we as women were not sharing our family history. We were not talking to our daughters about breast exams and mammograms and menopause and things. We just weren't sharing enough. I feel like that's another area that we have to do. We have to continue to share, especially with our daughters, about our bodies, about our history and our health. Another thing is, I feel like we still have a high number of women that are not getting mammograms, but I do feel like women are doing more self care and trying to be better with ourselves, being more graceful towards ourselves. I don't know why we still have a high number of women that are not getting mammograms. I don't know. But hopefully, we will encourage them to continue and to go and get those mammograms. Um, we have to be great. We have to show ourselves kindness. And sometimes women don't do that. We take care of everybody else, everything else, the household, the job, everything. But sometimes we don't show ourselves that same grace, that same kindness. And we have to do better with that.
And I agree with you both. And I think that's where the social awareness comes in, that flip side of cancer, the flip side of anything that we don't really deal with because we, may hide so much because we have to be this person up front for everyone else. And we forget
Mhm.
about ourselves. Like we're not really aware of what we need to be doing for ourselves because we're so involved of doing this and that for everyone else. And then sometimes when it comes to going to the physician, sometimes it's just out of fear of what you don't want to know. So you figure if you don't know, it's okay.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's
because
not,
what
it's definitely,
It
because what
have
happens,
to.
right?
it's
We
definitely
don't
not.
know,
Yeah,
and then it
To pretend
grows.
it ain't happening.
yeah,
Right. You don't know and
Don't
it
go away.
grows.
yeah.
So I rather know so that we can take care of it or get into treatment because as we said, we know that early detection brings about more options for us to survive.
Hmm.
So that is, I guess it's a false misconception that women may have that if you don't know, it's not going to grow. Oh, yes, it is. You don't know, and it is going to grow. So
Yeah.
we want to find out so that we can have those options, have those chances.
Yeah.
Have you did any, either one of you, have you done any trials? Have you done any clinical trials? I know they offer metastatic clinical trials a lot. I don't know how often for Black women, because that's going to be something that I talk about on another show, is clinical trials, because so often we are not invited to the party or they're not specified for us. So have either of you been a part of a clinical trial?
I have. My first med was actually a clinical trial. And then the last med that I was on that I decided to stop that med was actually just it was FDA approved right before I started it.
Oh,
So
good.
I am an advocate for clinical trials. I'm actually on a translational breast cancer consortium for clinical trials. It's a project. I sit on the panel on behalf of the University of Chicago, and we actually had a
Okay.
meeting in Dallas this past October where I sit in the room with these scientists and these statisticians and these physicians and these psychologists, and it was so overwhelming because there was a lot of scientific stuff going on that I really didn't
Mhm,
understand. But just to
mhm,
to be in that room and to see how the clinical trial goes into phases and to see how people are how they're accounted for and what trials they're working on and what's close to being approved and what's upcoming next. It was an amazing experience. And what I've learned is that we're all here and we do what we do for the sake of the next person that's coming along after us.
yeah.
So that's why for me, I think it's imperative to be a part of clinical trials. And I know as African American, as Black women, as Black people in general, we frown
We're
upon
not
it because
trusting.
of the
Mhm.
history, because of the
Yeah.
history. But sometimes you just have to learn to be trustful in some situations and just realize what is for the greater good of and just do your research before jumping into it. Make sure you know all the facts. Make sure you ask
Mhm.
questions. Make sure you understand what you're doing, what's the pros and cons of it and what it can do to save you or to save someone else. So again, my first man was a clinical trial because at the hospital that I was originally diagnosed with, I did not stay with that facility because for
Mhm.
one, they never even advised of a clinical trial. When I met my oncologist, who I am with now, when I first walked into her, that was the first thing she suggested was a clinical trial that I would be able to be a part of. And it was actually an oral med versus a chemo med. So I didn't feel like it was going to snatch away my quality of life. And that was very important to me. So I'm a
Mhm.
huge advocate for clinical trials because as I said, this journey, it was never about me.
Yeah. I like to always think that whatever we do, it affects the next generation. So, those trials may save my daughter or my granddaughter or my great granddaughter, so because obviously we still have not found a cure, so we are still in clinical trial mode.
Mm,
Um, I attended a workshop last week, and in that workshop, the young lady, her mother's work is totally the journey of clinical trials, Ricky Farley. And her work is all about clinical trials. And I heard the young lady say that they have somewhere in there, somewhere along the way, they have figured out, or they're quote unquote figuring out, that our cancer cells does not look like quote unquote white women cancer cells. So the meds that are being given to them, quote unquote, that are effective are not necessarily the same or attacking our breast cancer, our cells the same way. And I thought that was so interesting. I mean, but I can see that. I can see that, being of a situation, I definitely could. So it made me prompt and want to even more hear about clinical trials, because if that is the case, if that is true data, I feel like we definitely need to do more trials, because we need what's going to save us.
mhm. I'm pretty sure my treatment that I'm on at one point was from a clinical trial. I mean, that's why it's an option outside of what they call the red devil. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just haven't been introduced. But my where I get my health care, I know they do offer, if you want to sign up, like they might have signs or something around where if I wanted to look further into, I have that option.
And I probably can count on three fingers how many African American women sign up.
And I actually just completed a project with the Metastatic Breast Cancer Foundation, along with the Tiger Lily Foundation, of creating a pamphlet that's bringing more awareness to geared towards African American women to get more involved in clinical trials. So the pamphlet, it provided information as to how you go about signing up and sending in your samples so you can be counted, and so we can really dig into the scope of what's happening with African Americans and why are we, passing away
Our
at a high,
mortality rate. Hmm.
yeah, than others. So, we work together collectively to get this information done. We can help save ourselves again, because that go towards, okay, when we have these cells, we can look at them and we can see what's the difference between A, B, and C that can help us out.
Right.
It's just the push into and the knowledge and getting people to sign up for this information, and just trying to be a part of the change that we want to create. We want to save ourselves.
Yes. It's big. It's so much bigger than us, for sure. As you said, the work that we're doing is not for us. It's for the next generations and the generations after that.
Mm.
So I love hearing, Shanette, you are so proactive, so involved in, when you said you took control, you took control. You are so involved in so many different foundations and different things. That is so amazing, because you're pressing forth the agenda of let's cure breast cancer. Let's find some cures. I love that. And I'm going to make sure that I give you guys each other's information, because you're both in Chicago. Well, you know,
Yeah.
kind of, sort of. Born and raised, same thing. However,
Right.
the organizations that she is a part of, they have different branches, and it would be great, for you to get involved in the work as well, because you are very community as well, and just so you can gain more knowledge about metastatic and the communities and the trials and the different things. It will be amazing work for you to get involved with too. So I would definitely make sure to connect you to, um, definitely. So, how are your children now? How is your family handling everything? Shanette, I know you were worried. You said that you wouldn't see your children grow up, and now I know one of your sons is grown, or are they both grown?
One is grown and the other one is on his way out. So,
Right, right.
it's been amazing. My youngest boy, I feel like with him, he was in
How
the
old
midst
is he
of
now?
it. He's 17 now.
Yeah.
I feel like he was in the midst of it because he's seen like everything. So
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
him, I look at it as if you were there. Like I didn't think I would see you, cross these milestones that you have
Yeah.
crossed and the ones that you're continuing to cross. So with
Mhm.
him, it's kind of I'm a little bit more emotional because I'm like, wow, it was just my oldest son was there too, but it was a little bit different because he's seen it, but when you have a child that's younger and you're trying to go through it with them and still trying to
Yeah.
be a parent and on some of the harshest chemo you can imagine and just still trying to
Mhm.
parent and do this and do that. So
Mhm.
it's been a journey, but I'm glad that they got to see me push through because it gives them strength and it lets them know that they can conquer anything that comes their way.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. What about your babies? Because you all do pageants together.
Oh
You
wow.
are, tell us who you
Yes.
are. What is your pageants?
Well, I was 2022 Mrs. Plus US United.
Oh wow.
Right. And your babies, they were,
So we had they both were junior team, but one was for Royal Court and the other one was US United. So all same year. So
right. I remember that all three of you have won the crowns, the titles, which was amazing. So how has this journey affected your girls? Because you were their shero. You were, doing all of these things with them. How's that
I
gone?
have my teenage girls, but I also have my younger son as well. He, of course, I feel like he's, just younger, so he doesn't necessarily put everything together per se, but um it's creating them to be resilient as well. Because even reflecting back, I'm like, wow, I don't know how I would be able to receive that if I seen my mother down like that or going through some instances were very traumatic. Um, but they're handling it well. And I'm also putting them in counseling to make sure they're still mentally good. Because it's a lot, even if I
Counseling.
don't show it.
Yeah.
Yes, counseling. Shanette, did you do any type of counseling?
Not per se with a therapist, but my form of counseling is the many support groups I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And
But
what's been
those are therapeutic.
right.
Yeah.
They're very
Yeah.
therapeutic. And
Yeah.
once again, just relating back to the mental part of it, because the physical part I feel as though the physical part is much easier to get through than the mental scars because those mental scars are always, always there. Regardless if you're 10, 20, 30, 40 years out, mentally, if you've experienced the cancer diagnosis, it's going to always be with you. It's going to always affect you in some type of way.
Oh
Sometimes I
no.
may think when I get a headache, if I get a cramp in my stomach,
Oh
I get this
yes.
like, oh my God, it's in my liver, it's in my kidney,
Yes.
it's in my
Yes.
lungs. So it's
You
very
do.
important that we have those support groups, that
Hmm.
we have people we can communicate with that understands what we're going through because that mental part, it unfortunately is well for me, it's never gonna leave me.
Yeah. It is so true.
I
You
agree.
took the words out of my mouth. You can get a headache, you can get a backache, you can get your leg. Oh my God. And you'd be like, oh, what is this? Is it coming back? Is it you do.
Mhm.
And it's not that you don't have faith, it's that you're human. It's
Mhm.
that you've been through something so traumatic that you just not that your faith is weak, it's just that you have that human moment like, oh my God, I don't ever want to do that again. And it's the truth. I ended up in the hospital twice. Like, I don't want to do this again. So
Mhm.
yeah, I get it. Um, did either of you have a bilateral mastectomy or a lumpectomy? What did you do? Neither of you had to have that.
I've had a mastectomy and a lumpectomy, so I've had both.
Okay, you had both. Okay.
Mhm.
And Naila, did you have to do either of those?
No.
Okay.
By the time my it was super aggressive and it was all on the right side. So they said that they did not want to risk losing me on the table. So they
So
basically
you
just
just started chemo.
mhm.
Okay. Mm. I just I'm grateful for us all. I'm grateful for us being here. Um, no matter what our journeys are, we are here. We are blessed to tell our stories because um, you know, thousands didn't make it, and we are one of the ones who did. So I'm grateful for the both of you for being here. If there is one piece of advice that you could give someone else, or about your journey and about connecting with someone else with their journey, give me that.
For me, it would be don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to communicate. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If something doesn't feel right with your body, just don't be afraid to go to the doctor. Just be aware. Be aware of everything. Be aware of yourself and allow yourself to feel things and go through things because life happens and sometimes we just have to experience it in a way that we don't know how to, but you just have to navigate through and push through and just try to control the narrative and just try your best to be okay. It's so much easier said than done. And sometimes when I say that, I know people may feel like, but how? And I have to ask myself that question too, but how? And I don't know how, but 11 and a half years later,
You're doing it.
I can show you. I can't actually put it in words, but I can just show you through my personal journey and through what I've done and through what I've accomplished. So
Do you journal? Do you keep
I do.
tabs of you do? Okay. Is that therapeutic for you as well, the journaling?
Very, very, and especially when I go back and I reread stuff that I wrote, and it just puts me
Okay.
in the mindset like, wow, you really did these things. You really set out to accomplish things that you thought you wouldn't be able to do. I mean, when I was diagnosed, I was with with my job, and I thought I would never be able to leave this job because who's going to hire me with a cancer diagnosis? And now I'm at a whole other position. So it's just so many things that the thought of cancer can diminish
Ourselves.
in your head, and you think
Mhm.
it can take away instead of adding to. So for me, it wasn't taken away, it was an enhancement to all aspects of my life.
I feel like you took that diagnosis and you were like, girl, I'm gonna do everything in this life I want to do. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
go here, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna work here, I'm gonna do this. I feel like you just took it and was like, I'm going to live my life. I'm gonna live this life until I can't live it no more. That's how I feel like for you, the diagnosis has pushed you.
And it made me brave.
Mm,
It made me
right.
brave and it gave me confidence I didn't know I had.
Wow. I got so many things. I'm gonna go back and watch this one again because I just keep hearing so many nuggets. And I'm like, this is amazing. And this is what we want our breast cancer community to hear is that borrowed strength. It's made me braver. It's pushed me to do things I would not have done. Make sure your support system is in place. Having take control of your life, have that great relationship with your physician. Just all of these things are just things that other survivors need to hear, need to know, and most importantly, know your body. Don't take no for an answer. Know your body.
Hmm.
Nailah, what about you? Words of encouragement and give me some of those words.
What comes to mind now is don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed of your situation, your diagnosis. I know for me that was like we can tell ourselves a lot of things, okay? Like just stay in the positive. Sometimes it's what we tell ourselves that can discourage us. Like speak well to yourself. Surround yourself with some positive people. Surround yourself with a community of people. And if something doesn't feel right, just cut it off. It's okay. Like that is going to add to your health. You're going to be well off and more wealthy that way. Um, Giving yourself grace. I mean, life is what I'm learning is up and down, and it's okay for it to be up and down. Just take it on
It
moments at a time, seconds
is.
at a time. and just say, okay, gratitude. I got another chance. So wake up and do it again. Thank you, God. Like,
Yeah. I take every day, one day at a time, one day at a time, because there were plenty of days, and folks would have never known because they're like, oh, we could tell. There were plenty of days when, baby, I didn't even think I was going to be able to get out of the bed. My
mm-hmm.
mental, I was so extremely depressed, I mean, depressed. Like if I didn't have little people that kept me going, or a kid that was going to college, or just those things that made me say I have to get up, I don't know if I would have gotten up. So it's one day at a time, and that is for sure. And it's people like you, my village, that keep me going, that say, hey, bring back Survivor Sunday so we can hear stories again, that keep me going, because it's not always what it looks like. That thing when they say check on your strong friends, that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. Check on your strong friends. So ladies, if there is anyone, that any woman that wants to reach out to you to help them through this journey, is there any contact information that you want to share? Your Facebook, Instagram, any of that stuff that you want to share so that they can reach out to you?
Sure, I am available mostly through Instagram these days, and my Instagram is pink PINK underscore survivor, capital SURVIVOR 0.
Pink underscore survivor 0. I follow you.
My main platform is Facebook, Nailah Ali. But if you all want to email me, it's IAMNAILAHALI
Now, true story. Your email, Shanette's email, and another survivor, Deshandra, y'all emails always, I miss a letter. I always miss. I remember when I kept emailing you, Shanette was like, you like, no, you're missing. And it's so simple. And I was like, what am I missing? I don't know. It's just yours, and Deshandra's. They messed me up. But I just want to say thank you all so much. I wanted to bring our book back again for someone who is in the midst of this struggle, who's a thriver, who's a warrior. Um, get our book. There is some amazing information in the back of this book, all type of all type of great information in the book. We talk about diagnosing, we talk about treatment, we talk about different kinds of breast cancer. We share our stories, the good, bad, the ugly. And it's just a great resource to have. Also, the Heal Her 2 Foundation is my nonprofit foundation, where, as I said, we provide wraparound services for women who are in their breast cancer journey currently, who are out of treatment but still need support group. We provide support for the family member, the caregiver, and all of this we can be found at healher2foundation.org, and that's heal, HEAL, her, HER, the number 2, foundation.org. If you know of a young lady or a man, because men are affected by breast cancer, 2 to 3%, who is in the struggle, let me know. We will send them out a pink box. This little pink box is being reconstructed now, thanks to our amazing fundraiser. But this little pink box has some amazing little things in here that just helps put a smile on somebody's face. Like, seriously, to know that you are thought about, and that there's things in there to help you settle your stomach, because that ginger it helps. Or when your head is cold because you've lost all your hair and there's a beanie in there, or when your feet are cold and there's socks, or just a little journal to help you with it. There's things in this little box that just say, hey, we care. So if you know of someone who's in treatment who could benefit from one, please inbox me. And my inbox is Lakeisha McGee, Dr. Lakeisha McGee, on Instagram, Facebook. No, Instagram is I am Dr. McGee. Facebook is Dr. Lakeisha McGee. But also, as I said, we are at the Heal Her 2 Foundation.org is our website. We are on Instagram is heal_her2, as well as what's the other Instagram, and what's all them other social? It's too many. I cannot keep up with all social media. Just if you put us in Google, we'll pop up. The Heal Her 2 Foundation. We are there. Mama, we've made it. Right. And we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube as well, the Heal Her 2 Foundation. And all jokes aside, if you need some support, if there's someone who needs some support, Shanette will tell you I don't sleep. I'll be up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. When people text me, they need to talk. I am up. I'm available. Oh, I think I was up in the middle of the night with a lot of people. I am up. If you need someone to help you talk with your doctors, as long as you sign the consent form for me, I can be an advocate for you. I am a therapist. I can help you with that. So we do have a support group. If you would like to join our support group, let us know. We are here to help the breast cancer survivor. So guys, I have enjoyed you all today. I appreciate you being here so much. I appreciate you. Thank you everyone for joining us. I have tagged you ladies in the in today's discussion. Share it, and have any questions, you know where to find me. And you all know where to find these lovely ladies at too. Thank you all for joining us today. Dr. Lakeisha McGee, I'm signing off the Heal Her 2 Foundation. Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.